Hey everyone, welcome back to Noiseberry Games. Today I'm going to be taking a look at a new game called Monster Crown Sin Eater. This game was released on April 30th, 2026, and is developed and published by Studio Aurum. I'm recording this quite a bit before it comes out actually, so I don't know what the price is going to be unfortunately. This is a creature collector JRPG, definitely a bit like Pokemon, a little bit like Shin Megami Tensei, but I would say that Pokemon is definitely the main inspiration for this game. This is the sequel to the first Monster Crown game, or it's the second game in the Monster Crown series. I don't think it's actually a sequel to that one. That one came out in 2021. I haven't played the first game, but this game was offered to me, and I love Pokemon games, so I wanted to check it out. And right now I've played a couple of hours of it, and I think it's very good so far. The very broad strokes of the story are you play as a character called Asur, who lives on his family's farm with his mother and his sister. His big brother comes back at the start of the game, and he's talking about, government conspiracies, things like that. And he very quickly gets taken away by an inquisitor, and just in the first couple of hours, you decide to go get your brother back, but you arrive just in time to see him get executed, and pretty much right after that, the opening credits roll. So that was pretty much the prologue bit, and that is the inciting incident in that your brother is executed in front of your eyes. You can have a party of up to 8 monsters. You are a monster tamer, so you tame monsters and add them to your party, and you've also got storage just like Pokemon, so you can store anything over 8 monsters. Something I quite like about this game is that there are only 5 elements, 5 different types. In Pokemon, there's like 16 or something like that, and that they all are effective or non-effective against specific types. So coming to this one where there's only 5 types is quite nice actually. I've tried several Pokemon-like games, and the biggest stumbling block for me is, I've got 22 years experience playing Pokemon at this point, and I still don't have every single type matchup memorized, but I know the majority of them, even some of the more obscure ones. And so whenever I try a Pokemon-like game, I always have to try and unlearn the Pokemon type matchups and learn all the new games type matchups. And so the fact that this game only has 5 types makes it very, very simple to come to grips with type matchups. It also shows you when you're choosing a move if it's going to be super effective against the opponent. It'll start flashing the move in red, which means it's going to be super effective. It won't tell you if it's going to be not very effective, but like I said, since there are only 5 types, it is theoretically quite possible to memorize them eventually. I did not at all in the 2 hours. And you can also see the flow chart of type effectiveness in your in-game notes. You can't see it in battle, so you do have to memorize it a little bit before battle, but like I said, it shows you the super effectiveness in battle, which I think is great. Instead of Pokeballs, you get these various types of packs, and once you get a monster to low enough HP, you can use one of your packs and try and recruit it. Something else wonderful is that there are no random encounters. You can see the monsters roaming around, and you can even see other monster tamers roaming around on the map. And if you just go and bump into them, you'll get into a battle. So it's very easy to avoid them if you don't want to fight them, or just stand there and let the monsters come to you if you want to battle them. Very, very good system. Another thing I really like about the combat is that in Pokemon, moves have various power points. Something really strong like Hyper Beam, for example, only has 5 power points, which means you can use it 5 times between healing your party, and once you've used it 5 times, you can't use it again. In this game, your character has, or your team, I guess, has a certain allocation of points for a specific move type, and these points are always replenished after a battle. So for example, the main monster I was using used, and I don't know the names of the move types, it used this purple magic kind of move style, and so I had something like 15 of the purple power points. And each of my moves would only take like 2 to 4 of these power points. And so like if I ever did run out of the purple power points, my monster had attacks of a different type. So I could have switched to that if I wanted, and again, once I finished that battle, started a new one, I'd have all 15 of these power points restored. Something I didn't get to try out when I was playing, but I did find in the game was there is breeding and also monster fusion in the game. So if you've got 2 really strong monsters, you can actually fuse them together and theoretically get the best parts of each. I went and like looked at kind of the stats I would get from combining some of my monsters. I just didn't go through with it because I really liked the one monster I was using. And yeah, you can also breed to hatch new monsters. Again, I just didn't look too far into that, but something that's in the game, and you can access that about 2 hours in. Something I do wish that was there, and that might come up later, is like an XP share kind of thing. I ended up taming quite a strong monster, and from that point on, I just used that monster at the front of my party and never switched it out if I could help it. And so the rest of my party just instantly started falling behind this monster, and I think by the time I stopped playing, that monster was about 12 to 15 levels higher than everyone else in my party, and I was like, I just can't be bothered to train up anybody else. So an XP share, again, possibly this comes up later, but that would be a great option, I think. When I reached the first town, I was told, like, oh, there's a cave just north of here, but there's a scary monster in there. And I was like, perfect, let's go beat it up. And so I went down there, and it was this big, horrifying black worm thing with this creepy smile. Looked cool. He was called Pursuit. And so I got it pretty low, and I was like, I wonder if I can actually tame this. And I had a special kind of pact called a Demon Pact, which was only for special demonic monsters. And I was like, let's just give it a go. And I caught it, and I was like, wow, this is kind of like a mini-boss kind of thing. I'm going to use this, and that was the monster I used for the rest of the game. And it was very, very strong, and I thought it was super cool. I will also say there are 3 difficulty options, so I did have it on the easiest option because, I don't know, coming to terms with a new Pokemon like is always a bit of a learning curve for me. So yeah, I just had it on the easiest difficulty. So I don't know if that made it easier to catch this super special monster, but I got him, and I quite liked him. About an hour and a half in, I was like feeling pretty lost. I was like, I don't know what I need to do. I can't even remember my way around anymore. God, I really wish there was a map or something. And then I went and looked in my notebook, which is where it had like some tutorials. And in the notebook, there was a list of my objectives and also the map. The map's not amazing, but it's better than nothing. But yeah, I just had not found the map and objective list until quite a while had passed. I do think a hotkey to bring up the map right away would be great, because having to press start, go down to notebook, go down to map is a little annoying. Just being able to put it on select or something. In the first 2 hours, select doesn't do anything, so I think it would be good if you could bind that. And the only other bit of feedback I had was the option to make your movement speed, when you're moving, by default you walk, and if you hold B, you run. But the walking speed is just so slow, and the world is decently large, so I was never not holding down B to run. So I think it would be nice if you could maybe, in the Final Fantasy Pixel remasters, you can change your default movement speed to either be walk or run. And so if you could do that in this game, I think it'd be great. If you could set it so you're running by default, just be able to switch between the two, it would be great. Anyway, I've really only just barely scratched the surface of this game, but I wanted to get my video done. Played it all on my Steam Deck, which is always a little bit worrying, testing something out on the Steam Deck before it's launched. You know, it doesn't say that it's got Steam Deck support or anything. Worked perfectly on my Steam Deck. Took me a while to find the right resolution, but I ended up just going for full screen, and it worked perfectly. Yeah, great battery life, runs perfectly fine on my Steam Deck, so yeah, all the footage from this video has been recorded on my Steam Deck. I think the key thing for this game is the sheer variety and the number of monsters you can get. You can fuse monsters to create new monsters. It also says that certain monsters transform when exposed to certain elements. So the example they give is this little dog fox thing called a Canite, when exposed to frostbite, becomes an icy dog fox thing. Pretty cool. There you go, that was a pretty quick look at Monster Crown Sin Eater. Thank you guys very much for watching. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys later. Bye!